So, what is okay? What did you learn? What was the first thing that you learnt that had your jaw on the ground and your head spinning and opened your eyes?
Uh, I think, as you said before, the biggest thing for me, because I like to consider myself reasonably intelligent, was the fact that I didn't see the deceit and the systems that had been set up, especially around the creation of a corporate you or a nom de guerre entity through your birth certificate, and that's how they trade you.
Now, for
So,
people who know nothing about any of that,
okay.
what how do you find is the best way to explain that? Because I mean, I've done it for several people and had them sitting there in front of their driver's license and their birth certificate and their credit cards and whatever, and in disbelief that there's something in it. But
So the way that I've explained it, that most people understand, is that everything's based on a court. If there's going to be an adjudication on something, it's on court. Now, the highest document in court is the Bible. So whether people believe in the Bible or not, if you want to go to a court that's a Roman court, and all the courts around the world are Roman courts, they will ask you to swear an oath on the Bible, and they use a lot of the principles in the Bible. Now, the Bible says, and I'm not a Bible basher. In fact, I sit for Vipassana and I try to follow the teachings of the Buddha. But I understand that the Bible is used in law. So the Bible says, and actually most people who believe in spirit will agree that there is a divine creator. Now they call it God. There's a divine creator that then allegedly created man. Okay, so if we're talking about a master-servant relationship, we're God's gracious servants, and He's the master. And it actually says in 1 Samuel chapter 8 that we're to report to one master and to no other. Be wary of appointing a king or a government, etc. So we're to report to the master. Then man, in his infinite wisdom, as populations grew and we needed infrastructure, we created government to govern us. Yeah. So the government was originally of the people, for the people, by the people. But when the cabal or the Illuminati or whatever you want to call them realized that they wanted to maintain control over us, because for centuries they'd done it through brute force. Might was right. And when the pen was becoming mightier than the sword, they needed to create a way to control this. So they then created corporate government. Okay, so all the governments around the world, whether they're federal or state, are now registered as corporations. And I encourage people to look it up. The Commonwealth of Australia is a proprietary limited company. It's registered here and in the United States. Queensland government's the Brigalow Corporation. People can look this up. So that's how they trade. The New South Wales Police Force is a proprietary limited company with an ABN. All of these institutions are corporations. So they set up then corporate government. They then set us up as a corporate person. And if you look at the Black's Law Legal Dictionary, which is what they use in the courts, a person can be a company or a corporation. So through the establishment of your birth certificate, they've set up what's called a Sesta KV trust, okay, with them as the trustee, the system as the trustee, and you as the beneficiary. And your birth certificate, which your mother was the informant on, now an informant denotes somebody who's informing of a crime. So your mother was the informant, and your birth certificate is what you then trade through. And so I
okay,
ask
stop,
people,
because you've just said an awful lot
okay,
very
sorry.
quickly for people who this is brand new for. Okay,
Okay, so I'll go back. I'll go back to the master servant. God is the master. We're the servant. We've then created government. Now, what have we called government people? What are they known as? Public
servants,
servants. Does it feel that way?
not at all.
No, it doesn't feel that way, does it?
No.
When the ATO call you and say, "Where's your tax return?" Who's serving who? And so then that's what I was trying to say there is they then created a corporate government and a corporate you because it's all about who's the master and the servant. Now, when they've set up you as a corporate person, you come under the corporate government. They have what's called jurisdiction. Ation is to speak, juris is the law. So they have the law to speak to you under you, right? Oh, sorry, on top of you, you are under their jurisdiction. Your person is under their jurisdiction.
So what
So
I
you,
encourage, so let's just get some background here. What I encourage people to do is get a copy of Black's Law Dictionary if
one of
you
the
have
early,
never done this before. And there are multiple versions of it on the internet that you can download. And if you go back to the older versions, what you'll see is in each successive version, things are changed, things are removed.
yeah.
But look up some key words. Look up the word understand. There's a great place to start. Because what you will notice
Yep.
is that when you walk into a courtroom, one of the first things you will be asked is if you understand the charges. Now, most of us look into Webster Dictionary, for example, and you'll see that understand is to comprehend, and that's what we think we're being asked. Do we comprehend the charges? It's not what we're being asked at all. We're being asked if we will stand under them, if we will literally have those charges hanging over our head.
Correct.
Look up the word person, as Mark said. It doesn't mean what you think it means. It does not mean a human being or an individual or living human being, I should say. What are some other keywords that can blow people's mind when they look them up in Law's dictionary? Actually, look up human,
it's
for
not,
that matter. It says monster, doesn't it?
yeah, human beings not us either. We're sentient. We're sentient, flesh and blood, spirit filled beings. That's what we are. Look, they've messed with a whole heap of words, and it's amazing how through the indoctrination of the education system, we just give them a certain meaning. So the word normal has a certain meaning. The word abnormal has the opposite. Ab makes it the opposite. So I wonder why they call them aborigines. They're telling them they're not origines, and therefore they have no rights. The word Commonwealth. Everyone thinks the Commonwealth Court, the Commonwealth Games. Commonwealth means the sweat and flesh of the slave.
The
This came about,
yes.
right? It's the flesh and sweat of the slave. So when we want Commonwealth jurisdiction, we're telling them that we're happy for them to treat us as a slave. So there's a lot.
I think what people really need to get a handle on is that when we go to school and we are taught the meanings of words, we are taught from a particular dictionary, so to speak. It's a particular language. And yet, when we are out in the world, when we are being spoken to by a corporation, by a government, by a police force, by a court, by any of these corporate organisations, they are literally speaking a different language. And it's
Yes.
one that we're never taught. It's one we're not encouraged to investigate. And you can receive a letter in the mail from a court or from a police officer or from a corporation, and you will think it says something because you're reading it in English that you were taught at school, when the document can be saying something completely different. And also, in this legal jargon, things like having things in a box, in brackets, means something. In fact, it means that it doesn't mean anything. It means that it's not there. You can disregard it.
Means that it can't be seen and it's not admissible.
Anything in a box.
Or in brackets or inverted commas.
Yes. And you can take that analogy to court as well. You've got a witness in a box, you've got a jury in a box, which means that the judge can completely ignore them, not see them, they are not there. It doesn't have to take anything that they say or think or feel or do into consideration if he chooses not to. They are in a box. This is a very long, winding rabbit warren, really. And one of the things that I've learnt over the last 18 months in particular is that we have a huge awakening, as we all know, on this planet right now. The whole world's waking up. And there are different camps to that. There's the New Age movement, and for me that represents people waking up to the fact that they are just more than their human body, that they are a spiritual being having a human experience. Then there is another camp, which is the Ascension camp for me. And that is a much larger, broader, deeper perspective on things. And then you've got this other camp, which is the Truth Movement camp. And within that Truth Movement camp, you sort of have lots of sub-branches. There's the understanding that the Illuminati actually exist, that it's real, it's not just a conspiracy theory. There's understanding the New World Order and what it really is trying to achieve, what its plans are. Then there is this other road you can go down, which is understanding the fraud, what I call the matrix. And this matrix includes the banking fraud and the political fraud and the government fraud and the way that we have been Deceived, absolutely. So one of the things you understand when you go down this road is that a corporation cannot deal with a human being. It can only deal with another corporation. So the corporation known as your your country, what you think is your government, in this case the Commonwealth of Australia, we think is a government. It's not, it's a corporation. And it can only deal with other corporations. So in order to deal with us, it needed to create a corporate version of us. And that is your token for that. The evidence of that is your name in all capital letters. And if you look at your bank statements, if you look at your credit cards, if you look at your social security cards, if you look at your anything issued by a corporation, it will have your name capitalised in some form. What's it called? Capitis Dominicus?
Capitis Diminutus Maximus, which means you have no rights. It's essentially you're a corporation. A corporation's a dead man speaking. Corpus is dead. Ation is to speak. Or a nom de guerre, which is a French war term for dead. You're dead. So you're either a corporation or a dead man when you walk into court.
Which was something that was initially used with slaves only, I believe. That in the slaves were the only people who had their names in all capital letters. And all capital letters is maximum removal of your status. Just the first letter of your first and second name is the minimum that they can deplete your status as a human being, and right up until absolute everything's in capital letters.
Yeah. So that some birth certificates now, Lisa, are being released in upper and lower case, which is interesting, but they're written in cursive, and the cursive is to speak to the devil, and either way the whole birth certificate's in a box, and anything in a box can't be seen or heard. It's not admissible. So it's all fiction. It's all to do with fact and fiction. They're fictitious courts dealing with fictitious corporations, and so even you turning up to court is almost a sign of your incompetence.
Yes, and hiring a lawyer or having somebody represent you is absolute. You've given the game away from the moment you walk in the door. So
I've had some fun in court. Because I know who I am, I've had a couple of fun experiences in court.
That's the most common phrase that I have heard since going down this road, is you have to know who you are. And as I said before about these different camps, New Age, Ascension and Truth Movement, for me, which is surprising, I have actually had some of the most spiritual understandings and awakenings in the Truth Movement, rather than even the Ascension and New Age paths, because it opens your eyes to really, really getting to the depths of you having to ask the questions about who you are in order to, like you say, stand up in court or deal with a corporation. You have to know who you are. But moving on to Truthology as such, what prompted you to go about and create Truthology? How did that come about?
Well, after I came across the information and spent about 3 months researching, I essentially, as soon as I attended that workshop, I within a week walked away from the financial planning business. I then spent a lot of time researching, and then I thought, right, what am I going to do with my life? I felt a really strong urge, because I've done a little bit of public speaking and so forth, to just share the information. And so essentially we just started doing little workshops that went from sort of 8 to 10 people to 15 to 25 to 60 people really, really quickly. Then we started doing them twice a month, and I guess then we really wanted to put the processes in place, because there's a lot of this information out there, Lisa, but not so much, well then great, now what do I do with it? And that can be a frustrating place. People understand that there's been a corporate them set up. They understand that the banks create money out of nothing, but what to do about that? So we put together a couple of processes for handling debt honourably by asking the banks certain questions that they can't answer and still to date haven't answered. And we're also showing people how they can set up not-for-profit foundations and operate privately out of the public system. And I'm guessing we've set up probably 200 foundations and done well over 300 debt processes. And it's been an amazing experience, as you said, to watch people come to us with their shoulders down, pale in complexion, dark rings under their eyes, marriages falling apart, really just ready to put their hands up and go, what the hell was that all about? To within 3 months, and as you said before, you can almost set your clock to it. Within 3 months, Steph and I would catch up with them at a cafe, and this has happened a few times, we haven't recognised them. We've been looking around going, oh, they're not here. And they go, Mark, Steph, it's been a a physical and like aura transformation of these people. Their shoulders are back. You know, I'll tell you one. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit excited now because it's just so lovely to see. We had one guy come to us. He was about 135 kilos, not sleeping, working 3 jobs, marriage on the rocks. 3 months later, he was 95 kilos. He had run the Gold Coast Half Marathon. He and his wife were making love again. They were talking to their kids again, and you know, it was just so amazing to watch them wake up to who they are. So I guess what Truthology is a platform for people to start to take practical steps towards freeing themselves. But I will say, I've been listening to a lot of trust law stuff through a lovely chap by the name of Franco Collins. And Frank talks all through his talks about there's no magic bullets. And so that's what I want to reiterate here. We haven't got the magic bullet. We've got some processes that have worked really well. But it's really what I've said the whole time, Lisa, for the last years, is this is as much, if not more, an internal process than an external process. We can help them with the semantics of some paperwork and so forth, but they really need to commit to learning who they are and how the system has been set up and how they can deal with it honorably. So that's, I guess, what Truthology is the platform for that. And it's not just about debt, and it's not just about tax. We really do, and we've had a lot of people go and sit Vipassana meditation courses that have come in contact with us. We've turned a lot of people into vegetarians and healthy eaters, people into exercising, meditating. So it's a lot more than just the semantics of finance and tax and all that sort of stuff.